been such a disappointment, man. Not just the game, but I was just thinking about the community, right? I love when I hear your videos, Mike, and you're like, look, I know I'm playing this character. There are things I could be doing different and better, right? You don't blame the matchup or the character, right?
Mm.
MK, MK, the newer players want to play a blanket universal style, right? And if like Johnny Cage, for example, you know you can't steal your turn back if there's a 9 frame mid, right? You have to accept I'm -2. Normally I could try to steal my turn back, but I can't do it here. They'll try to do it anyway, and they'll be like, man, are they gonna nerf this bullshit character? You see, like they play it wrong and then blame an MKX and MK9. Like if you were to release MK9 today, they would say Cabal was mid-tier just because most of the newer players couldn't control him properly and they would be losing to Shivas and they say, oh, the old players upplayed him, right?
Mm.
But then some of the other characters like Sub-Zero would be considered top tier. You know what I mean? Like it's all weird. Like it's tough to discuss strategy because it's like being a former all-time pro player is like being a heart surgeon and you're arguing with somebody in high school and they feel their opinion is just as valid because they read something on WebMD. So it's there's no real the community's knowledge is based on Sonic Fox's law. Whatever he says goes, and he changes his mind about it every single day. Even someone like Foxy, who's very knowledgeable, trolls too much. He'll say, "Oh, MK is just the same strategy as ever," and then if you try to bring expertise, he'll say, "Well, it's not that game anymore." But you just told me MK is the same strategy it's always been. Like it's always, you know.
Is that why have you been off social media for so long?
Just nothing to say, man. Like, uh, how can you talk to a community? How can you talk to a community who swears every character is broken and everyone is carried and everyone is upplaying or downplaying?
Mm.
It's hard to have an intelligent conversation. Like for me, I know if I'm playing the Sub-Zero mirror and he does down one or anything, I'm not going to swing back because I know what comes next, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll see a Johnny Cage player sitting on 3 bars with Goro. It's not even a reaction. It's just, oh, I saw it launch him. You'll down one clone. He'll still throw a knee and go, yeah, and this character is not broken. Likewise, like I said, people do the wrong things in the wrong match, and then they swear everyone is downplayed, everything is broken. And if you try to say, is it possible that you are a mid-level player and you do not understand fighting games on an elite level? Well, when's the last time you did anything? A lot more recently than you, brother. You know, like it's tough to have an intelligent conversation with the community today
Mm.
because even the worst player sounds off and has debates and causes debates on what characters are good and bad. It's very, very, it's very. Even I see Sikander sometimes. I think he's a very high level player. He thinks zoning should be banned. Like, come on, man. Like, the community is a different breed today than it used to be. It's
Do
really.
you think it's because the MK community, the community we have today, are they younger than like the other major communities?
I think what happens is the other games stay true to their roots. So you'll still have Knee and players like that around in Tekken, right? In Mortal
Yo,
Kombat, a lot of the players cut from that cloth. They just don't want to play the game. It's not that they can't compete and still win. They just say, I don't want to play anymore. I
Mm.
mean, in my opinion, for a game that was formerly the king of sales by several million copies, for them to be tied by Street Fighter, you have to piss a lot of fucking people off for your competitors who you normally dominate to catch you.
Well, that's what I kind of wanted to ask. So I'll go around just to start.
Not true.
I mean, he was
Would you
cooking
say,
out the
Chris?
gate.
That's not true.
Go on.
That's not true. Because if anyone knows the NRS community from MK9, we've always been having to ask for another console, hope that our tournament doesn't get closed down early. We're the last people there in our locals, and everyone's gone, and we're still sitting there. We have 4 PS4s or PS3s, and they become 2 PS3s because they've been taken and given to a Street Fighter player, Street Fighter 4 player, or a Tekken 6 player. So we've always had to endure that. That's always been like the main point of why the sales don't actually conflate
Where
with the
you guys are,
popularity.
yes. But for me and PL, it's different. Over here in America, they would take setups from Tekken and give it to us. You have TOs who used to be like, oh my God, why do we even have Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag 2 tournaments anymore? And they would throw them to the side and give us the setups. MK over here in America, man, they spoon fed us over here, brother. I mean, they gave us the good life.
Follow will tell you it was
I can't
complete
say
opposite.
that I was like at those tournaments when that happened, but I do remember how Tekken kind of, I don't want to say burnt out, but okay, so pretty much what happened, Tekken 6 came out in 2008 in arcades around the world outside of here. And then by the time we finally got the game, it was like 2010 or late 2009 or something. So they had kind of already flushed the game out, and people were already like, "All right, we want to play Tag 2." But we also got Tag 2 late in comparison to when they got it. So it was like by the time we finally got the game, people couldn't catch up, and so it was like they would see the same people winning all the time. So maybe it was like viewership fatigue. I really don't know, because I was dealing with the whole, basically being targeted by the community at the time, so I'd have too much focus on seeing what was going on with Tekken.
All right. Well, I want to ask everyone. We'll start with Lou. How you're feeling about Khaos Reigns following like the combat cast? I know a lot of people were disappointed with the what's it called again? The leaderboard thing, the Warrior Shrine.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been trending on Twitter for like kind of making fun of it. But I mean, I'm excited about the story and like I hope the game gets better. Like I don't want to shit on it. I don't want to be like pessimistic, but I just wish Warrior Shrine was something cooler. And then I just hope the game finds a way to evolve. But you know how I feel about cameos, so I think there's only so much wiggle room to begin with. That's just kind of where I stand on it.
I saw you saying that they might be doing 1v1 because of how the trailer was framed.
I was slightly trolling. Like I think it was like invasion shit, and I was staring the pot just a little bit. But like it's more than likely just invasion shit where they were showing the solo screen. But I was hoping so, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Okay. And Chris, how do you feel about Khaos Reigns?
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for it. I'm not disproportionately, because I know what to expect out of any game that's had kind of its first year run. There's always that areas of stagnation, going through metas, and with NRS games, we're more aggressive about how often we need our patches every 3 weeks. We don't wait 3 months, 6 months, 9 months like the rest. So, yeah, it's desperately needed. It's going to infuse a bit of new life into the game, but it's not going to be a be and end all where it's like, if the numbers drop off, even 2 days afterwards, I don't think it's a point where we're going to have to start wagging our finger or pointing at each other about who's to blame, because that's going to happen inevitably. But as the game comes, as it stands, yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to breathe some new life into the game, and I think that they've been doing it, approaching things not perfectly, but best as them as developers can do, considering the circumstances. Yeah, Chaos Reigns looks cool, man. It looks cool. For a variety, there's things that they could put in there that I would suggest, to give it a more of a well-rounded, like holistic experience for people. But yeah, I think, look, it costs £50, right? Or $50 to most people. People are still gonna buy it. So that kind of proves its own point, if there was one to be made. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Pio, how do you feel about it?
I'm looking forward, honestly, to just seeing how the content world evolves around it. And what I mean by that, like, I just want to see what characters people use, how the meta changes, if it changes, if the characters all got a good, healthy amount of like additions. Because I see like they've been teasing that with every time they show like a trailer or something, like Tanya has new stuff or Havoc has new stuff. So I want to see what the rest of the characters are doing. So I'm excited just for the discovery. I hope they do something like announcing pro competition having crossplay, because that was a big reason why I stopped playing, because they didn't have it, and I didn't want to like do one of the last minute trips just to go to like a pro comp event. And The story, I don't know, man. Like the story portion of it, the multiverse thing, I want them to wrap that shit up. I'm tired of characters not having finality. A character dies, oh, they're coming from a different dimension, and it's just like I don't know. I want that feeling of, oh, this character we might not see him again, but of course we're going to see him again because it's MK. But I don't know, like, but we'll see what they do with this Havoc story. We haven't seen too much of anything else besides like Noob Saibot and Sub Zero and a little bit of Scorpion. Now, of course, like Liu Kang and all that's intertwined, but this seems like a side arc more so than anything else. Like we don't know, I guess, Havoc's motivations outside of chaos and all that stuff. But the Warrior Shrine. I was hoping that was going to be an online lobby or something, and then I see that it's just a leaderboard thing. I mean, I guess that's okay, but I was really expecting them to do something like use invasions and try to use their maps on there to give us an online lobby. Because honestly, like, and then when people were hype about online practice, I thought y'all wanted online practice where you could sit in practice mode while the game queues up. But no, y'all want you're hype about being able to lab with somebody. I'm like, dude, the game is already built with the best type of ways to lab where you don't even need a human. You have them do something on block, have them do something on hit, have them jump. Like, I don't know, like maybe now I guess you need someone to hold your hand to help you, like, hey, please, can you do this jab for me in exact frame when literally you can set that up? So I feel like they just wasted development time on this when they could have just set it up to where we can practice mode and then have online match queue. Because I don't need, okay, look, maybe I mean, yeah, I get it, but you should be able to learn how to lab on your own. Like a lot of these situations are not rocket science; it's Mortal Kombat. But yeah, I'm kind of done. I'm ranting now.
And Tom, how do you feel about Chaos Reigns?
Oh,
Man,
oh,
good.
no, I thought you said how do I feel about, but I didn't hear the Tom part. Yeah, my bad.
Man, it's tough to know how to feel because they still really haven't said what direction they're going with the game. I mean, I've seen what's so weird about, and I think Mike, you've always made light about this. When you watch like a Tekken talk or something like that, they're very clear on what direction the game is going. I'm a little surprised that for an expansion of this magnitude, after the way the game has been received, that they wouldn't at the very least have make light to like, hey, this is where we're going with the game. We want to bring some power back. We want to not just power up the cameos, the characters, etc. But they don't do any of that. So really, we're kind of flying blind. We don't really have any patch notes. I mean, it's the night before. It's almost maybe 15 hours up until, and we have no patch notes, nothing. We have no clue until you get the game and hope for the best. Well, I'm hoping that it's enough to keep everyone's, to keep the game growing. I feel like Mortal Kombat has kind of fell out of sight and out of mind in a lot of ways. And like for me, it's never that I don't understand Mortal Kombat. I understand it very, very well. But it's not that I can't compete. I choose not to because it's just not enjoyable to me. At the end of the day, no matter if you're the biggest tournament player or the worst player in pools, or if you're the biggest content creator or you're just starting out making content, from big fish to little fish, we all start for the same reason. We love the game, period. No matter who you are, you all started for the same reason. I like this game enough to grind to become big or to begin to grind to see what I can make of myself as a player or as a content creator. I'm just trying to be hopeful that it's going to be fun. I know a lot of those guys in that studio. It just blows my mind to see that they could ever make a product the way they've made in this game. So I'm going to be hopeful for today, and hopefully that doesn't change tomorrow.
Okay, and of the 6 characters that are coming out, I'll ask Lou first. Is there anybody in there in particular that you're most excited for, or are you going to be sticking with Liu Kang?
Nah, I'm definitely looking forward to Noob. Like Cyrex and Sector look interesting, but I'm looking forward to Noob just because it's something about Bihan's personality. So I'm hoping that like the play style matches the personality as far as like the aggression and like kind of the ruthlessness. Like I'm hoping that's what we see. I only pay like so much attention to the combat cast, so I'm looking to explore that. And then honestly, I hope that T1000 is the best DLC. I'm looking forward to playing him. I think like people in our age range who kind of grew up on Terminator and shit like that, they can really make T1000 very awesome. And the thing is, I don't think they have any past reference characters to compare him to. Like Conan, I expect him to play somewhat in the ballpark of Kodo Khan, however that is for Mortal Kombat 1. But when it comes to T1000, I can't think of a character from the past that you would be able to compare him to as far as people they've made before. So I'm hoping he's very unique and creative. That's like the two I'm looking forward to the most.
Okay, how about you, Chris?
Typically, I like Sector over Cyrax, but I think Cyrax looks really good this time around. I think Cyrax will work well within this system with cameos. I think having those things on the screen and obstacles to get around, and then putting maybe Kano's knives or Sector's rocket in place to pin people down, I think that's going to be fun. And then T1000, I feel like they're going to pull in. You know, we've always wanted that character called Chrome, the silver metallic ninja that never really came to be. I think they'll try and infuse some aspects of that idea, maybe like chops, and I don't know. They've got the technology to make the fluidity of like a liquid metal look quite good, and then they do have a decent eye for detail when it comes to making those references to, you know, wherever its origins come from. So yeah, T1000, Cyrax looks good. They all look good. Noob's giving me that MK9, and I don't mean like MK9 in air quotes in parentheses as you guys call it. I mean like he actually has that MK9 kit stop, like animations, like groove about him. Cyrax looks good. Sector, people have been excited for her. I feel like she looks a bit cookie cutter compared to the other two characters they've shown. But yeah, Cyrax and T1000, all of them, and Ghostface as well. Because I'm not a person who really watches horror movies. If I watch horror movies, they're on the opposite end of the spectrum. They're like, we have a British film certification kind of thing. I'll be watching things on the extreme end of that. But in terms of Scream, I don't really know too much about Scream and the Scream characters, so I want to see what they do with Ghostface. I think they could like maybe draw me into the franchise somewhat as well. So yeah, Cyrax and T1000, and I'm interested to see what they do with Ghostface.
Okay, and Pierre, I saw you smiling when Lou mentioned
Yeah.
the T1000.
Dude, the Terminator series is like one of my favorite franchises. Like it's in the top 3. Okay, I just, like, by the way, go watch the Netflix Terminator. That shit was too good. But
Oh, is it worth watching?
T1000 is one of my favorite villains like ever of all time. So when I saw him announced, like honestly, I didn't care about any character in the pack. But I mean, they all look cool. But T1000, we haven't seen him play. And then Ed Boon had said something in the interview how he will play like faster than the T800, which is kind of obvious. But like seeing not just how he can materialize weapons, but also his functions of like, you know, when you would shoot him, if you haven't watched Terminator movie, when you would shoot him, he would just basically regenerate. Or if you punch him, and when he fought the T800, he punched him in the face, and then his face turned into his hands, and he was holding it, so you can have like parry mechanics. There's so much you can do with him, and then you can have him probably like play like Glacius a little bit from a Killer Instinct because they have similar type of liquid moves. So there's so much you could do with him, and you could also still give him a gun. He could probably run really fast. There's so much you can do with this character. And then he would probably be the go-to character to use for fatalities because he doesn't bleed. It's like all metal and stuff. But after I saw what Cyrax looks really good as far as like what she can do with the mix-ups. Like the animation looks like overhead and low, and you can change it depending on, and then like how she can flip around, and her net will carry you to the wall and stuff. It's just a nice take on what Cyrus was doing before. Sector looks straightforward and cheap per usual. Ghostface, I don't know. Honestly, to me, the character is generic in the sense that it's a dude with a knife. Like if you watch the movies, it's a dude with a knife. Like there's no superhuman powers, there's no nothing. There's not no trained ninja. it's a dude with a knife. So I'm like, how are they going to make this shit, better than, because Jason is a dude with a knife, but they had him
I'm
running
thinking
around
Rambo from
all
Mortal
this
Kombat
stuff.
11 is what I'm thinking. Because you said I'm thinking like Rambo from Mortal Kombat 11 as far as like normals.
Yeah,
it's
but
just a dude
also
with a
like
knife.
Kano and stuff too. It's like, what else can you do with that besides like maybe, I don't know. What if it's probably two characters fighting, since they showed two characters? I don't know, but I can't think of what you could do to not make them generic. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do and how far they're gonna go, because I know that every little project that they do, they really go in. They're really big fans of it.
Yeah.
And Conan, I think Conan, they'll probably knock it out the park, honestly. Yeah, they have the animations and stuff with Kotal and just the other stuff that Arnold was doing in that movie. I forgot, I have to go back and watch it, but of course he's gonna be like a big brawler, probably have a command grab and some shit. I mean, just swinging stuff. So um, I'm more excited about what the base roster, how they're going to be, but with the new stuff. But the deal. Am I missing the characters? Sector, Cyrex, T1000, Conan, Ghostface,
And Noob.
Yeah, that's all of them.
Oh yeah,
And
Noob.
Noob.
Honestly, man, Noob he looks like MK9 Noob to me. It's kind of the same thing, and even the down to like the new buff he's got. That seems like, I mean, that's probably the most interesting thing about him. But I'm talking about like the orb, they can shoot on you or something to disable you. It's like it's him, but I need to see how he's going to actually play, like his frame data and all that stuff, because his animations look cool. Doing the sweep that hits twice, maybe that's a hard knock. Well, actually, all the sweeps are hard knockdowns. I got to actually play with it. It's different seeing everybody else play with it, but also watching him, I was like, why has this man got a forward dive kick and a downward dive kick and all this stuff? I don't know. But
I guess he was
yeah.
trying to be reminiscent of Bihan because he's got one as well in the gameplay.
Oh yeah, that's right. And he did have one in MK11 too, but it was like a equipable move.
Okay.
I don't think we'll ever see Noob smoke again. That kind of like,
That's 3D era stuff, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, how do you feel about same questions here in terms of the characters?
So I was really curious about how they would do Cyrex. I think they said Cyrex has a mid command grab. Am I mistaken there? Or did they not?
I ain't got it. I don't. Come on, guys, Cyrex.
I
know
believe
she has
one.
one.
Did right? She has one, right? They
Yeah, I don't
tweeted
know if
that.
it's a mid, but I know it's a command grab.
I think they tweeted that it was a true command grab. So it looks like maybe they're bringing archetypes back into the game, which is kind of curious. One that lets me feel like if they're no longer afraid, if they're willing to don't care about people's feelings getting hurt by bringing archetypes back, it makes me hopeful that they could buff the other cast, might bring back zoning, trapping, grapplers, etc. There are characters that I'm most excited for is, for one, the T1000 to me. I was 14 years old when Terminator 2 Judgment Day came out. I'm old. So it was to really understand how iconic that character is, you really had to like live it, and be there. I would, if there's ever a character in which you could, as a designer, let your imagination run as wild as humanly possible with, it would be that character. So I'm looking forward to how they would do them, considering that's probably a developer's dream to have a character like that and say, go ahead and design him. You can pretty much do whatever you wanted with him, and it would still be canon. But Conan, I'm not as excited for Conan. Ghostface, I think, is iconic. Conan's iconic, but just too many times they feel like they dropped the ball with those. They use shared inputs, like Conan, PL. Even first thing he said was, "Yeah, they probably got some codal animations lying around." So I'm pretty sure we're going to see some of that. So I'm looking forward to the T1000, and I'm really looking forward to how Cyrex plays, as far as like how they make him a trapper. Looks like my mistake. Gender swap now. She is a kind of like a trapper by nature. Cyrex has always been that. And then they threw a command grab in there. And then you factor in the assist. So I feel like she's probably going to have the most wild possibilities that take time to lab, which is the most important thing. What you don't want is a character that it takes 5 minutes to lab, and then you watch the videos, and it's like, hey, can anyone stop my whatever version of the character is? And I look at my Homelander, and the way he's playing the very first day is how the character's played. 2 months, 3 months later, like there's no room for creativity. So it looks like she's got a ton of room for creativity. Probably the most creative of all the new characters they're going to add. So that's the one I'm the most excited for.
Okay, and when I was on Twitter when they did the combat cast, it seemed like everybody's attention was on the Warrior Shrine. So I wanted to ask you guys individually, how do you feel about that mode being blacked out for a long time and that being what's being revealed? I'll start with you, Lou. Like I know generally that people are not happy with it, but do you think that them not understanding that people are anticipating this has kind of taken away the shine from Khaos Reigns, or do you think people are blowing it out of proportion?
I think they kind of did themselves a disservice because while I did laugh about it, it's the coming soon that made it seem so much bigger. If they didn't highlight that something was important, it wouldn't have been a big deal. Like let's say if just Warrior Shrine just came out and got added, it wouldn't have been such an issue. It's the fact that it's been there for a year straight, so we thought it would be something epic, and then it's just like it almost feels as if they veered away from what it was initially supposed to be because it seemed like too big of an announcement for such a small thing that 95% of people aren't going to care about. For a content creator, you could build a storyline around like trying to push for that and make content around it. But other than that, it's like, who cares to be the top 5 players of every season unless you're going to grind it out? How is that viable for like the majority of the community? So I think it wasn't about the Warrior Shrine itself. It was about coming soon as if it was something epic, and then it would be just that. You could have did coming soon for the Towers of Time, and that would have made more sense as far as being fulfilling of an announcement. The Warrior Shrine is like, that's what it is a year later. That's how it feels.
Chris, how do you feel about it?
I get it. I don't think it was well implemented. It's like the whole UI of Mortal Kombat lets the entire game down as far as I'm concerned. Like, you know how you log onto the game and there's this massive open space in there and you can see the kind of the dragon logo, and then everything's relegated to this side panel, transfers into every single the UX is trash. Negatively affected Warrior Shrine in of itself. So when you see this small thing that says Warrior Shrine coming soon, people are going to become like overly expectant of it. Hey.
No, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh yeah. So overly expectant of things, but I think the idea is cool. I can see why they did it now rather than then, because if people knew that they had to like fight to get into this top 5 position when the game had started, especially with how rocky its launch was, I think that would have even been another area to be scrutinized. So I can see why they held back on it. I don't know. I think they could have done more with. I think they could have done more with it. When they said Warrior Shrine to me initially, I thought, look, you got all these hybrid fighters that you can have at the very end of the game. Why don't you just put them into a mode where we can just use the hybrid fighters and we can have all of the cameos and we can use the main characters as cameos because they're also in the story? Why don't we just have like the Warrior Shrine be this kind of hodgepodge mix and match mode, which would tend to the casuals and then open up the game in a bit of like a Marvel versus Capcom-esque way. That's what I thought it was going to be. I thought this Warrior Shrine was, I go in there, I can play as, what is it, Kenshi mixed with Kano or Raiden mixed with Reptile. I thought I could do something with that. I thought that was what was going to be the basis of that. And I think they should still pursue putting in some kind of hybrid mode at some point. Overall, I'm disappointed with the Warrior Shrine. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's good that we can go back and buy the previous cosmetics from the previous seasons. But if that's it, does that really deserve to have its own little title spot, like its own little place where you actually have to like navigate your cursor and then press X and then go into that mode? I don't think it's deserving of that. I don't think it's worthy of that. Just like Lou was saying, it's like coming soon would suggest a bit more than that, right? That's how I felt.
Okay.
Bring a hybrid mode. That's what the casuals need. Bring a hybrid mode. Bring something that takes away from the competitive aspect. Use the assets that are in the game already to bolster what the game can do. You get to the end of the story mode, and I can fight all these different versions of characters that have already been made. They don't have to have any balance attached to them. Just put them in the game and let them be playable. If I play Liu Kang, right, let me choose Reptile as a cameo, but just specifically for that mode. Do something with that, and then we would have been talking about a warrior shrine. We would have had something really, really good. Like,
And
that's my
Pierre,
opinion.
how do you feel about it, Pierre?
Well, man, it is disappointing because like for it to say coming soon, you foreshadow something big. But I heard that the reason it took for so long is because they had to get crossplay working right. So it was a leaderboard that had all the the platforms involved, but they could have also just told us what it was instead of let us like speculate, which has been a lot better. I mean, communication goes really far. So, I mean, I wanted a lobby because it'll be. You see how toxic everything is online. Think about how funny that would be. Everyone interacting in a lobby, like people just talking shit, getting mad at fatalities and stuff. Like, think of the Battle Hub, but in Mortal Kombat with Mortal Kombat's like online community. That shit would be hilarious, and it would be a content gold mine. But that's not what's going on. So we still just we're waiting for a match, and that's it. And then we still don't have rooms either. And that's what another thing I thought could have been the Warrior Shrine. I was like, did they just rename the rooms? I don't know. But yeah, dude, it's just whack. There's so many things that they could have done that everyone else is doing right now that they should be doing. Like, look at 2XKO. You can pull up on a lobby, watch somebody fight without even going into the match and just spectate. I think it's just creating that virtual arcade these days does a lot for curating community now.
Yeah. Okay. And Tom, how do you feel about the Warrior Shrine?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. You could not get a bigger slap in the face for anyone that paid their money for this game. And the fact that this gets swept under the rug just shows why NRS gets away with what they get away with. Because most of the bigger content creators who spend their days saying that people with, 1 subscriber or 5,000 subscribers on YouTube are grifting for money. Meanwhile, they have 500,000 and they don't draw a real issue to the effects of the issues. If you bought this game, you mean to tell me I was one of the ones where everybody was abandoning ship? I was online every day grinding Combat League. But I don't get enshrined in the Warrior Shrine. No. Only now, when you buy the expansion, now Khaos Reigns, now these seasons count. So what did I pay my money for and spend my time on Combat League for months and months and months and months, only to be told, only to be told that doesn't count. Or it's not a big deal. It's like it was part of the base game that you paid money for. And it was, for something, I don't really care how big or small it is. The point isn't, was it a massive deal or not? It was part of the original purchase that people made. And not only it was not included in the game, they're not even going to, at the bare minimum, at least show that they're making some effort and say, hey, we're even going to backdate it to include the other seasons, at least the seasons from when crossplay started. There's at least 3 Combat League seasons with crossplay. We're going to include those seasons as well, so this way it's all kind of whatever, hey, we apologize. We understand you didn't have it during that time, but we're going to backdate it just so you guys who bought the original game, who didn't have it for an entire year, don't feel like you didn't get what you paid for to some extent. So for me, that's just a big slap in the face. It was much to do about nothing. They could have introduced it if the holdup was truly cross-play. They could have introduced it when cross-play was ready. How hard is it it's not even a leaderboard. It's just the leaderboard's already there. All they do is when the season is over, enshrine the top 5 places. That's all it is. Every game has something like that, where they enshrine some type of leaderboard in the previous season. This is not a new concept. This could have been easily added. The effort that took is almost nothing. So to hold it over for at least for at least 6-7 months. When did we get crossplay? What was it?
Yeah, we got
February?
crossplay,
March?
I think in February. Was it February?
Something like that.
Something like that. So
Yeah.
what are we doing here? 6-7 months, 8 months? They could have done it. They could at least, the bare minimum, honor those people that paid their money, who were grinding those combat leagues, and say, at bare minimum, we're going to give you some effort now and enshrine those top 5 places. It's like, hey, listen, guys, we understand. Water under the bridge. At least we finally got it now. And everyone's like, yeah, cool. And if you talk about it, it's no big deal. And it's such a bigger. I've never seen a community where somebody talks about like not getting the full version of their game. And this community is like, but aren't you nitpicking? It really, no other community would let anyone get away with that. Only the NRS community. And that speaks a lot to this. If people that don't like being called shills are shills, I understand they don't like that, but this is what makes people say you're in the pocket of NetherRealm because you excuse this. Whereas in any other game, no top content creator would excuse this behavior. You see Mike do it all the time with Tekken 8's rank. Same with other top content creators. This is the difference in an NRS content creator and content creators for other games. And I think people should feel very disrespected by this. I mean, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it, but I'm just saying it just shows lack of effort when you sold people a product for $100 day one.
Yeah. Okay. And speaking of community, I'll ask Lou, because you actively create content for Mortal Kombat. Do you think Khaos Reigns is going to breathe some like fresh air into the content that you create? Do you think the community are going to be more optimistic about the game, or do you not think things are going to change much?
I think, like, personally, like, I'm gonna try to be, just because it's kind of like the gripes that are there for the game are kind of like the same ones we've had for a while. So it's like at this point, I feel like you can only go up for the most part. So I'm gonna try to like be optimistic with that. I'm hoping that like the balance and like the expansion kind of does things. I think the story in itself is going to help a lot of people enjoy it. Like, I plan on streaming the story and like checking that out. Because I took a while to do it the first time when the last story came out for the original launch. But I mean, overall, I think the people who do like it, they're going to stay in that box, and the people who don't like it are going to stay in that box. And I don't think there's much crossover because of the fact the main component of the gameplay is based around cameos. So if you don't like cameos, I don't think they can change much for you to ever like the game. Like, I've just gotten to the point where I just accept it. Like, I don't love cameos. I can play it. It's fun. It's fun enough. But I mean, I would prefer it be like a 1v1 or a fully 2v2. But I think this is never going to happen. So it's like, what's the point of me repeating it? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of where I stand at.
Do you think it's possible for them to even do 1v1 in this game, given how they've designed the characters? Because I swear they've made some characters to be like reliant on cameos.
Yeah, I don't think that they can, and that's why I think that 2v2 would be the more innovative way to go. Because I feel like saying 1v1 is just like one to change in general, and it's the easy way to go because you can just take the cameos out, but it'll make some characters not viable, like you just said. But I think full 2v2 is the way to like make the game innovative, where you could really essentially save the game, in my opinion. Like, if you put in 2v2, I would probably play it for like the next 4 years. I don't know if other people feel that way, but I feel like that would save the game for me in general. But some people probably won't agree with that.
P.O., I saw you shaking your head.
Yeah, like MK9 had 2v2, and I guess like I have like tag team game burnout. Like, I've played Marvel 2, I've played Dragon Ball Fighters, Marvel 3, Marvel Infinite, and all these other games. So it's like Mortal Kombat, I came in, or we all came in, as it's a 1v1 game. I prefer it to be like that. And the 2v2 is fun, but I didn't want it to be the main mode. I never wanted to. I'm like, yeah, it's fine how it was, and it was like, and I know people was like, oh, it's broken. I think calling something broken is kind of just like nonsense, because something is broken to everybody, but some things are not broken. Like, we're playing Marvel 2, and we're guard breaking and hit people in blockables and infinite combos and stuff and resets that kill you in like a split second. I kind of don't want to hear anything about what's broken no more. But cameos, I feel the exact same way. I was like, I didn't want the cameos, but I ended up just accepting them, and also like not just accepting them, but like I also appreciate what they add to the gameplay, like doing Frost's ice wall, stuff like that. Shit is fun as hell. And it's another character has a fun cameo. I'm sorry, man, I can't think of another one, but
Mataro?
still.
That's
Still
not
like
good.
yeah, like off the top of my head I could, but it's just, I would prefer it as 1v1, but with the game how it is. I just want them to have done like a great addition because they've been saying they could add more special moves to characters and more normals and all that stuff. I don't think that they can't just flip the script on characters and like make them strong if they decide to do like a no cameo mode because they like even when Injustice, right? They had what was a separate mode they had where you could add special moves and stuff by customization. I mean, they've been doing that in all their games, so I don't see that they couldn't do that. But I know it'll probably take a lot of development time and thinking based and go away from their main current design. I just want them to make all the cameos like really good, but not brain dead good. I want them to require finesse. Actually, I feel like that about all their strategies, like to win. I feel like the top tier shit should require finesse. I don't think it should be ABC. I can put the triangle through the circle hole, and everything. Like it shouldn't be like that.
I want to ask you all a question. Yeah, this is something that I believe, but I want to see what everybody thinks. I'll start with Lou. I am of the mindset now that MK should shift back into the 3D and go back to the 3D era. I'm kind of tired of the 2D era. I feel like they fumbled it too many times. I know there's a lot of contention when you speak to the community about this. What do you guys think? I'll start with Lou about going back into 3D and exploring that.
I remember last time when you and me talked, you brought this up, and it's like for me, it's kind of a thing where even like the problem with this game in particular is you kind of not being yourself. Like do what you do, don't try to be who you're not. You know what I'm saying? So it's like on one hand, I get the nostalgia of wanting to go back and play because I played Mortal Kombat. Was that 4 on 64? I think that was Mortal Kombat 4. I played that a lot and I did enjoy it. However, it's no way you can make a Mortal Kombat 3D game that I would want to play when I have the option to play Tekken when it comes to a 3D game. I feel like the main place they drop the ball is they try to be somebody they're not. They should have just stuck to what they do best. And I feel like Mortal Kombat 11 or Mortal Kombat X, which one you prefer, was the blueprint to go that direction. Not being themselves is how we got in this situation in the first place. So that's kind of how I feel about the 3D thing.
Okay, and Chris, how do you feel about the 3D era?
It was good, man. It wasn't good. It wasn't the era in of itself. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. Like nothing about the 3D era was particularly good. When people go, oh,
Wow.
I used to play Sujinko, it was the best thing ever. The story mode, no, you wasn't playing the story mode for like 3 years straight. You had a summer holiday, or you guys call it summer vacation. You played it one summer vacation, and then you got to do whatever else you did in your life, and then you just remember it because that's what reminiscence does for a person. Why do you insist that they make a 3D game when you haven't got a high opinion of any of their games? Like I would ask you
That's
that
not true.
question. Why do you?
That's not true. I do have a high opinion of the 3D games. I have a high opinion of MKX. I have a low
Right.
opinion of MK11
High
and
opinion
MK1.
and a ref and the development of a game. If you feel that they're constantly dropping the ball, which is the thing that's normally said, right? NRS, they never can get it right. This game and this game and this game haven't been good. Why on earth would you ask to have to make something completely out of their ballpark?
Because
Like if Namco decided they want to do it, or someone like Platinum Games, like if Platinum Games took up the mantle and said, yeah, we'll do all the hard work, you just have to give us the budget, you just give us the assets, then maybe we'll be talking. But if you're saying NRS, I'm like, all you're going to do is you're just digging the franchise an earlier grave, because people are going to say, oh, you know what? After 4 years of playing it, cameos weren't so bad, I kind of liked them actually. It's better than this 3D shit. Why don't they just go back to their 2D stuff? That's what they're gonna say. That's
yeah.
what people are. So, invariably,
Wait, do you want me
even
to
if they
answer?
made a good product,
Do you want me to
yeah.
answer?
Sorry, mate.
I'm saying that I want NRS to give 3D a try because I've seen them try 2D in 5 games and they fumbled it 4 times. So in my mind, I'm like, well, we've got nothing to lose now. They clearly can't make a coherent 2D game. MKX was a flash in the pan. So I want to see if they can try their hand at 3D. I don't think they've made a 3D fighting game. MK vs DC wasn't NRS, it was Midway, right?
Midway.
Yeah,
Right. So I haven't
I like
seen
that
them.
game.
If you're continuously fumbling and you keep on fumbling harder, then in my opinion, I think you should try something else. I don't think there's any harm in well, there could be severe harm to the franchise, but I don't know yet. We haven't seen it. So that's why I'm pushing for a 3D
I
game.
think NRS need to expand their repertoire when it comes to what franchises they have, because they could easily just make a Star Wars fighting game and then use 3D
What?
characters in
No,
that and
no.
have it kind of like, no, why not? Why
Not in
not?
the
Why
state
not,
Star
right?
Wars is
I
in right
mean,
now.
they could, they
That
could,
will
they,
sink them into the ground.
they could make a Star Wars fighting game. They could
No.
make a Harry Potter fighting game. It doesn't necessarily have to be Mortal Kombat every single time, because that's kind of part of the problem. Like, no Mortal Kombat game that I played, yeah, has been the same. Like, Mortal Kombat 1 never played like Mortal Kombat 2, which never played like Mortal Kombat 3, which played like Mortal Kombat 4, and so on and so forth. So to constantly try and go back and grab these best elements from these games that are so far apart seems like kind of mixing fire with oil. Really, like, why would you do that? Why do people have this expectation of, yeah, if we just grab the best bits out of these games, but none of the games play similarly? That's kind of like part of its charm, but also part of people's grievance, right? Like, leave the 3D era games to be what they are. Maybe if they get their skills up in terms of appeasing everyone in terms of animations, getting the music down, getting the environment down, getting the vibe down, then they could go for it. But honestly, I'm of the belief that people just want like an Elden Ring-esque single player, Ghost of Tsushima style Mortal Kombat game, no competitive aspect in it, and then they can walk around beat 'em up is kind of what people really want. And if they do that, and it's successful, that will also be the downhill of MK. Because MK, any game that has 2 life bars and a timer in it is more than likely a fighting game. But most people want it to be anything other than that right now. So the 3D games, they're cool, they have their charm. I would think that it'd be better to kind of embellish it by grabbing like the Armageddon, all of the characters, put that in Mortal Kombat 1. You can go to Johnny Cage's Mesa or something like that, go to an arcade machine, and then you can go and play Armageddon mode. And it's online, and it's kind of like been ever so slightly updated, so it has like the new user interface for the new controllers, and that's it. Because once people start playing those 3D games, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I remember why I remember why got left in the past. Leave it in the past, bro. Leave that in the past. Let them get their skills up before you leave it in the past.
Okay, wait, hold on. When you say get their skills up, right? When did MK9 come out?
2011.
2011, right? Okay, we're in 2024. The time's up. It's 13 years now. If you can't get your skills up in 13 years, something needs to change.
Bro, I'm fine with the way a game is produced, because you know me, I have like a good breadth of knowledge when it comes to fighting game, discussing them and playing them and just knowing them. Like, I don't think there's a fighting game that I haven't played. I think one of them was like Nitro Plus Blasters. Everything that's like on that
I don't
Fighters
even know what that is.
Generation long list. Yeah, I played them all. I played them all. I think with Mortal Kombat 11, I mean Mortal Kombat that was made in 2011, like, it's, we say, like, you want to say the time is up, but it's not necessarily just about skill. You have to look at the common complaints that are made by consumers, living livestock, if we want to be completely honest. Yeah, like, you got to look at the complaints. Once they keep complaining about the same thing, there's no point trying to introduce things that they're not asking for or they constantly complaining about.
Okay.
I
Well,
can feel like
Pio,
Tom,
how do you feel about it?
All right, Phil, about what was the? I lost the plot. What's the question again?
I'm just
how I
trying
feel about
to, like, because I've been speaking to people about the 3D era coming back.
Okay, all
I'm
right, yeah,
quite sick
3D
of
era.
2D.
Okay, I remember now. To me, the best 3D era game was MK Shaolin Monks. If they were to go that way,
Yeah.
hell yeah, because that game had like one of their best combat systems ever, and
Yeah, your mind in the
yeah.
gutter.
Yeah, but like that game, its combos, everything, like the mechanics of 1v1 was really good. I did play the 3D era games. I prefer the 2D era games. I did play MK4. I like how they were going towards how at that time their take on 3D games, because before it was still like 3D models but kind of 2D, but they had a dodge. So I guess if someone overcommitted neutral, they could dodge and force a whiff and then punish and stuff. Then they had like the weapons, they were super duper strong. But Deadly Alliance, they seem to have like real back on special moves. I remember Kung Lao didn't have, he just had like cyclone kicks, and I think he could use like a sword or something. It wasn't, it was definitely not how it was before, but the game was pretty fast from what I saw, and for matches from what Tom and Rio would have, it looked pretty good. But um, like a lot of Scorpion's new normals that he would use, I guess up to a particular point. When I think about it, I don't even see that normal anymore. Like his old MK9 forward three, which is became his Injustice 1 back to. Uh, I don't know. I don't. There's some things the game did right, but there's a lot of things like they did wrong. Like this, I think Deception was pretty good as from an aesthetic, like state or level or whatever. And then like the stages that they had were super cool, I think, and how they had all the mini games and all that. So I think it does have its lights, but there are some bad thing. People are going to talk about the balance or whatever else, maybe animations and stuff. But um, I don't know, to have them go to that, because their entire audience is built around them catering to scrubs. Like no disrespect, but a lot of the players are scrubs, like from top to bottom, and like from the way they think and from the way they play and the way they think as they're watching. They don't even know what's going on. They just see life bars and characters doing stuff. Like they don't know about. I mean, as much as what's in the game is there to teach them tutorial wise, they still don't properly think correctly about special moves or different things in gameplay to just beating your opponent. They'll oversell and say, "Oh, this move is too broken," or "This move is not broken." Not really totally understand. Like in Tekken community, I feel like on a base level in Tekken, a lot of people know and understand what's going on. But in Mortal Kombat, I don't feel like a lot of people do.
Okay. And Tom, how do you feel about MK going back to 3D? Do you think they should remain 2D or not?
I feel like I'm probably one of the best people to answer this question, considering I was probably one of, if not the top player in all the 3D games. MK Deadly Alliance. Anyone that thinks it's a jolly good time in Deception, I promise you, if they were to play me or anyone that was around back then and we did some of that garbage, it would be a very short. It would be a very short-lived happy memory. It's revisionist history, basically, where we revise it to be so much. Yeah, it's all fun, until we actually use the bullshit on each other, and then all of a sudden it's not as fun anymore. To be honest with you, the 3D games are better left to be nostalgic as they were. I think one of the problems that NRS does is they alienate their audiences because they have too many. Street Fighter, nobody's asking for Street Fighter EX to come back. But there's a reason for that.
Well, I mean, like they have 3D games. I mean, they're the 3D models and the characters now. That's
they
pretty
do,
much
but
what
it's
you're
not a
talking
3D.
about.
Exactly. My point is, and Street Fighter never had a true 3D game. EX wasn't even a true game, as far as like we think like Tekken. They're the only real MK that played like an actual Tekken-like game would be MK Deadly Alliance, and that's the only one that functionally felt like you were playing a Tekken game. The rest of them was just full of 10 times more bullshit than you could possibly imagine, where you basically needed a referee to stand behind a match with a rule book to see who was breaking what rule that we had to come up with just to make the games playable. I think those games would be fun in a classic collection, but in a lot of ways, I feel like the main reason why NetherRealm wouldn't do that, because I feel like it would make money for sure, is they just don't want. They're like Thanos. They want to wipe out everyone who remembers how life used to be, right? So that they can't tell the new players what they're missing out on. That's kind of like Thanos, like that's basically kind of like how he wanted to do an Endgame. We'll just wipe all of you out, so the next time there's no one around to remember how things used to be. So I don't feel like NRS wants any of those old players back. which is kind of weird because that's the majority of their audience. They buy the game, but then they're like, oh, well, this game is garbage, and then they leave, which I guess doesn't matter because none of us gets their money. But I feel like the 3D games are better left where they were. I don't have confidence in NetherRealm to do a true 3D game because they will just rush it out, and the 3D game has so many more complexities than a 2D game has to it. And I feel like that studio would have to relearn or all the things that the minutia that goes along with making a 3D game, and they can barely make a 2D game. I mean, it took them 1 year to put a warrior shrine in a game. I mean, if they make a 3D game, you won't have a side. If they make a 3D game, they wouldn't have a side. It would say sidestep coming soon. Like that's what it would be like, the 3D aspect coming soon. So I really feel like not the issue. The thing isn't making a 3D game. I do feel like the fan service part of that would go a long way. But I feel like what NRS needs to do is develop some form of identity. The problem isn't a 3D game. It's like, for a while, they couldn't decide if they were going to be a 3D studio and a 2D studio. Now we're 2D studio again. Now we're NetherRealm. And then, well, are we going to make it like MK9? No, we'll make it like MKX, fast-paced and variations. No, we won't. Now we'll go to MK11, and we'll take everything out of the game. We'll do a custom system. No, we won't do that. Now we'll put in cameos. They don't know what their identity is. They don't know what their identity is, which is the problem. They don't know what their identity is, and as such, they don't develop a community that has an identity because there's too much turnover. The same way that their games turn over one idea from the next, they turn over players from one game to the next. And now it's just, hey, there's no one playing MK anymore competitively that's like an elite player, so we have 10 players that can try to clean up on money and then leave and do something else. That's pretty much what MK's turned into.
Okay, and I don't appreciate how you all slandered my 3D games, but you're entitled to your opinions. It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, look, I love the 3D games, believe me. But when I used to fire up MK Deadly Alliance, besides someone like Rio, most people didn't want to stay in that lobby, brother. And when they did S Arcade, look, man, I came in there and we did some Baraicho matches, and they weren't anxious to play again. So I mean, it's just one of those things where it's fun. It's not fun when the rabbit has the gun in those games, man. Let's just say that. And that game is just, it's fun for nostalgia, but certainly not competitively. And I don't know that they could do that right.
Okay. And so I wanted to ask you guys about Evo. Now that Khaos Reigns is dropping, obviously I'll start with Lou. We saw how pretty bad the numbers were for Evo for MK1 this year. Do you think Khaos Reigns will help with those numbers going into the next tournament season, or do you think it will continue to dwindle?
I ain't gonna lie, unless it's like based on an official relationship where like they're like Mortal Kombat needs to be on the main stage. Based on what we had last Evo and then what this could change as far as the game going forward, I'm sure there'll be some, but I don't think it's gonna be that much different. Like before they announced Khaos Reigns, I didn't think it was gonna even make it to year 2 as far as being in Evo at all. Now that we have Khaos Reigns, I'm sure that it will, but that just depends on how many people love the game. But like even when I was talking to Ninja yesterday, he didn't really have like much motivation to compete. And apparently this is kind of like a thing amongst a lot of competitive players, which I didn't really know. But so outside of you guys, like the top players, I don't know if it's going to be a big deal when it comes to Evo next year.
I heard a lot of the players were like moving to Tekken or 2XKO, Street Fighter. Like there's been like I don't want to say like an exodus, but there's been a lot of people that have just completely fallen off.
I mean, I think we get new players at the very least, but if the game is what it is now and just slightly evolved, but for the most part, let's say that this is the foundation and this is what the game's going to be for its lifespan, which is small evolutions. I don't see that making that much of a difference at Evo. Like there's never going to be like a 1,500 player sign up in Mortal Kombat 1. I just don't see it. Maybe the number stay the same, maybe it goes down, but I don't see it going up.
How about you, Chris? Do you think there'll be any change in the tournament numbers? No.
Why should there be?
I don't know. Have they said there's going to be big balance patches for the game? Is there any indication there's going to be big changes to the characters?
I don't think that's enough. I mean, like, if you look at, like, because you do have to make reasonable comparisons, right? Every single first-year game, makes it to their second year, hopefully, and has some expansion. And normally there's no more people than there were before. So why would MK, a game that, like I said, hasn't had the best reception, why would it just all of a sudden have some kind of marked turnaround. I don't see it happening personally. I wouldn't expect it to. I mean, it'll definitely be a talking point once Evo rolls around, but I don't see it changing.
I see other games like growing slowly. Like, I remember Tekken 7 started to grow and Street Fighter 5 did. So if MK is updating itself, theoretically it should probably grow as well.
Growing in terms of its Evo numbers. I have to look at that because I look at I perceive, all of the games that came around it. So like Dragon Ball Fighters had multiple updates. Did it have its numbers go up in that time?
I don't know. I think Lou would probably know because you were following that, right?
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent as far as Dragon Ball goes. I mean, the game is super fun. I feel like a large part of it is the reputation the game came out with. Dragon Ball Fighters was fun out the gate, where Mortal Kombat 1 wasn't received that well. So that's kind of hard to overcome that, in my opinion.
Sure.
Okay, and I wanted to ask Peter. I've forgotten my question now. Oh, that was it. So I saw you weren't too happy with Kung Lao. This question is
No.
going to be specific to you. What about Kung Lao is bothering you in MK1?
Well, like, okay, so as a character, he's not as competitively. It's just like his design and what he plays is really boring. Like, he's armor move the character, lunge punch, call Goro and stuff. But then I want him to just be pretty much how MK9 was, not where, okay, you got armor teleport and all that shit. I'm talking about you jump at me, I spin, you die. Or, just how he navigates the screen with the roll, and then the dive kick is slower in this game. He doesn't have the roll. Teleport's not there, it's on the cameo. So like I just want him to return to his legacy. Yeah, probably don't need to give him launch on his spin because it's a knockback now, but he has that new rising dragon kick or whatever dive kick, which is the same function as that, but it's hella slow. So he's got like these T-Rex arms. His down one has like no range. Not saying that I want to have hella range, but I'm just like I can highlight all of how he works. And his back three string I think is pretty good because you can bait people that want to armor it who can't block it. And he's got pretty good pressure, and I think he can still like navigate the screen. But it's just I feel like I'm doing one game plan, and it's not anything else that you could really do. Even his combos had no sauce. Like the his bread and butter combos 37% is like the easiest B&B to do, and the one that's harder to do don't even do more damage. It's just there's nothing there. Like I play Mashimas and Tekken, right? So I want there to be like a extra depth to the character, and it's not there anymore. Kung Lao used to have that, even in MK3 and MK2. So that's my gripe. But then they gave him a faster traveling EX spin, which means like now you can just totally not care about neutral even more so. Because before I was playing with Jax and Kung Lao, so before I would do EX spin and then just hold it and then call ground pound and then base. You can't do shit because you stay on the ground, you get by unblockable. If you jump, you get knocked down. Then I come in and just pressure you, and then I can do like rising dive kick with Jax coming out do ground pound. So you kind of just got to take the launcher. But now he's got the air fireball. I mean the air hat, so he can probably do that with his combos. Probably can do EX rise and drag dive kick into air normal into the hat spin, and probably keeps him in the air for a while. It also will help his zoning a little bit, I guess, or screen control for characters that kind of have an easier time getting past his hat toss. But it's still a very linear, I'm going forward, type of game plan. Like I still want to be able to teleport and all that. Then his cameo, they gave him the orbiting hat, but my gripe is everybody has the orbiting hat now. And I don't know, it's just the character's not the character no more. I would prefer like look at Johnny Cage, right? MK9 Johnny Cage. So anybody's like, why don't you just adapt to how the character is? Ignore the no. Johnny Cage literally copy and paste Mortal Kombat 9 Johnny Cage to MK1 Johnny Cage. Forward 3 still there, back 3 still there, 2-1 still there, 1 still there. Still got the nut punch. The only new shit he's got now, he's got the freaking hype thing where he can power up and then do special move and a special move. And then he's got the parry and also the command dash that goes forward. And yeah, the rising uppercut punch that he can use to create more pressure and stuff. But his core is there. If you are MK9 Johnny Cage and you've been asleep for 10 years and you wake up, guess what? You can play this game, no problem. But Kung Lao players, you gonna be like Ginyu trying to figure out a new body because it's a damn near like totally different character at this point. So that's my gripe. But I mean, like the rest of the cast don't play like super ass. They're kind of fun. I know Sub-Zero, everybody has complaints about him, but he's still fun to play with. It's funny as hell to get people to run into clone. It's like, you idiot, like duh, the clone is here. You gotta like armor through it or attack behind it. But shit, like even Sub, they need to buff his damage. Like the way he was in the beta, the first beta, not or the early, whatever one was the first one we played, he was fine. They should have just left him like that and then added whatever they were adding to him. But then also, when the game first came out, I was super enjoying it because of how Kung Lao was with the cameo, like the reversal spin cameo you could use to blow up all the crazy strings and shit. So I made the game about like, you got to really have good offense to open me up or I'm going to punish you. And now they took that away to where it no longer launches, it only knocks down, but that's only like in a reversal. And it's corny as hell. I'm like, why would you do this? This was hella fun. And then I didn't like how they nerfed Baraka or Cyrax. I didn't use that shit. I just learned how to beat it. But I was like, there's a skill behind beating it. It was the power in the game that where it was like checking a scrub. If you're a scrub, you're probably gonna get destroyed by Baraka. That's just what it is. You're not flaws blocking shit. You're not armoring the gaps. You're not running away and keeping him out. You want to fucking mash and try to go punch for Baraka like an idiot. Why would you even try to touch somebody with Tarkat? You gotta be stupid. If you watch the story, you should know you shouldn't even interact with them, but people still want to go punch for Baraka. Like, what is wrong with y'all? So like, Mortal Kombat used to be the scrub killer game where it's like, well, you're a scrub, you're about to get destroyed by all the shit. But now the scrubs can just ask for the shit get watered down. Like, I don't think Kung Lao's cameo at all should have been changed, even the low hat. I would revert back all the cameos to how they were before. Even Chameleon's fucked up, but if the other cameos are fucked up, then we all got fucked up shit. It's like, I want to go outside and we're going to have a gunfight with AK-47, somebody gonna throw a rock at me. No, we all should have fucking some boom, boom, boom shit.
All right, fair enough. Well, I'll ask you
Striker
guys.
grenades, bro. Huh? Even striker grenades on a revert.
If we got all that stuff, then striker grenades is fucked up. Trust me, I played with it with smoke and going invisible and all that stuff. Just give us a push block or something. Like, bring that shit back, and then it wouldn't be that bad. You already know they got that function somewhere in the game behind everything that we can see where they can press a button and be like, all right, you got a push block now. Because MKX had it, but it was tied behind 2 bars and all your stamina for some reason. The game that had all the block string pressure, they was like, yeah, we're going to make it to where you got to take all your resources.
Well, I want to ask you guys one more question before we wrap it up. So we know what's in Khaos Reigns now. Is there anything? I'll start with Tom and then work round. Is there any one thing that you would like to see in Khaos Reigns going forward that they haven't implemented right now, or are you fine with it the way it is?
Anything not implemented that I want to see them implement that I don't know about right now. I would love to see them do something with the fatal blow system, to be honest with you. I feel like, or actually the throw system as well. Sometimes I just hate that a competitive game still has situations of chance in it. I don't like that. You already have a strike throw system, but you can still get right in the strike throw and get thrown anyway, which I think is stupid. So I wish they would revisit the throw system, at least so if I know a throw is coming, I'm going to tech it. You generically have the strike throw, which would also give certain characters a better strike throw than other characters, simply because, some characters have better auto shimmies than others. It's just the character strength, as opposed to, hey, guess what? Even if you guess right in the strike throw, you got thrown anyway because you guessed the wrong throw. I also would like to see something done with the fatal blow system. I still think it's way too stupid. It's way too much of a powerful move. For some characters, just have no chance of punishing some of these fatal blows, even at point blank. Or some of these reach almost full screen. They still come back after X amount of time. I would like to see something done about them. Either they don't come back for the remainder of that round if they get blocked, if they want to keep it the way it is, or it'll come back but you get blown up for it, or it comes back but it disables your breaker for X amount of time when you do it, so that not only is it guaranteed punishment, but you can't break out of it, just in case you say, well, I'll check you with a fatal blow, bro, and good luck punishing it. It's like, okay, well, if I do, you shouldn't be able to break that because it's not easy for me to do. You know, something in there to balance that mechanic out. But I did want to weigh in one thing, but I didn't get to weigh in on what I think would have to do for Khaos Reigns to fix it. I think it was boiled down to this. They just need the only thing that would save the game, truly, and I think make Evo like special again, is they would need to make this game as fucking batshit crazy as humanly possible. So where it's like everything is just over the top, because balance, whatever. It would make people that watch the game say, this looks fun. With, remember that old Spider-Man quote? I said it on Loose thing. With great power comes responsibility, great responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's really with great power comes great possibility. The more power these characters have, the more likely you can continue to innovate for months and months and months down the line. And that will keep people in the game. Tekken has shown you can always dial it back. Hey, you go on a very important sales thing, you go dressed to the nine, you can always take your coat off, undo your tie. What you can't do is put your jacket on and put your tie on. You know what I mean? You can always dress down, but you cannot dress up. And that's what they need to do. It needs to be launched as fucking crazy as possible. And then I think take some of the scrubby mechanics, like how fatal blows are governed and throws, and that's one thing that I would like to see done to answer that question. Now, you've talked about it before, Mike, about the throw system, the fatal blows, to get rid of some of those scrubby chance mechanics in a competitive fighting game where people could potentially be fighting for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, fair enough. And Lou, anything that you would like to see from Khaos Reigns that's not in the game already?
So it's funny because as Tom was saying it, and I remember we had that conversation, Tom, used some more power, which make the game more entertaining to watch. So this is, I think I have two, I got three in total, but two of them probably won't be well received, right? But if you're talking about adding more power to the game, I think forward throw should take out the cameo. That would give us more option route, like combo options, as far as if you take the cameo out of the forward throw and use it the same way we use the back throw, not guaranteeing that it would be more simple stuff, but it would just give more room for creativity. So that's one, which I don't think would happen, but that would be awesome. The second one, I was just having this conversation on Twitter today. I miss flawless block attacks, and I know that we have armored counters for gaps and shit like that. And while that is cool, I don't think this would be received well, but I think it would just be fun because I love flawless block in general. I think we should bring back flawless block launchers. I don't see it happening. And some people will say because of armored gaps that we don't need it, but I just think it would be cool. And then the third one is I wish the gravity tracking was a little more consistent when it comes to combos. Not to make combos easier per se, but it'll be certain situations like I'm practicing something like labbing the chameleon combo with the Melina extension in the corner. Sometimes it'll land, sometimes it won't. And it's too hard to tell what I'm doing wrong versus when I'm getting it right versus when I'm getting it wrong, right? So I wish the gravity scaling was a little more consistent, because since you have the cameos implemented, that gives a lot of room for creativity. But the problem is the game feels wonky at times and inconsistent. For instance, when you do an extension with Reiko and what's that cameo's fucking name? Tremor. I hate that the main character falls. To me, that's just a clunky, silly system. I wish the game was more systematic as far as the approach. If they kind of fixed the gravity tracking and made it more systematic, not where you playing in a box, but where things are more consistent and reliable, that would do wonders for the game, in my opinion.
Okay.
That falling down shit just feels like lazy design to me.
I've always hated that falling down stuff. It's so stupid.
It's stupid. So stupid.
Punch my up. Oh!
Yeah, and I'm back up. That shit is so dumb.
It's from the movies. A lot of the stuff they have is deliberate. It's intentional.
I don't think that's deliberate.
All that goofy stuff. It's definitely deliberate. It's been in every single game.
Goofy shit though.
Find a way to do it. What's that? They could have someone fall away and then spin and pirouette and land in some kind of Superman pose, but they just leave it like that. And it's in the films as well. It's in both of the films.
I don't understand this shit at all.
What's in the films? Wait, are we talking about the same thing?
When you have two people collide together and then they kind of bounce away and fall on their asses. Is what you're talking about, right?
No,
Like,
so
so
like
No,
when
no,
you do a
no,
grab,
no, not that. It's if
no,
someone's
no.
doing a combo and you call your cameo in to interrupt your own combo, you'll fall out of your own combo.
Yeah, then get up
they
and
have
then
that.
continue.
I think that's intentional, you know. I genuinely think that's intentional. I
Yeah, that,
do.
that would be the worst intention ever. Like I
Yeah.
think
It's
that shit is
either way.
stupid. Like that's the worst thing about the game to me.
Well, that interaction comes up quite a bit though, so that is probably intentionally in their design. But yeah, I don't like that shit either. I think it looks corny.
Yeah, agreed. Well, Chris, same question. Oh, it's Chris still there? PR,
Did he
I'll
get
ask you
disconnected?
why he's coming back. Anything that you want to see in Chaos Reigns that's not been announced for it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're ever going to, but I echo the same things about the Fatal Blow. I think that's corny. Like I don't know if you guys remember this, but remember they said that they were going to like really decrease the armor on it or take it away. Right? It's literally a toggle setting in the tournament setting in the game. And before, I think in the first Fatal, the first early access, you could just smack people out of Fatal Blow. You can. It didn't matter when they
Yeah.
started up. Like it was just gone. But then they brought it back, and I'm like, and they allowed it in Combat League. I was like, so what are y'all doing? And then I kept asking, is this going to be like this for Pro Comp? I don't know why they're letting it rock, but I think going forward as a community, we should make the decision to turn that shit off if it's not turned off. Because like, why is it a feature in the game? It doesn't set like one of our biggest complaints was failables from MK11. So they was like, all right, well, we're going to do this now, and we're not even following through with that. And also with throws, maybe they can do what Tekken is doing, and then like instead of all right, they got the forward throw animation, back throw animation, they can now just make it to where each animation shows a different hand. So then you have to react to the hands at least. And then introduce a 1+2 grab or something. I don't know. Like, I think that's the easiest way to go about it. Because I know Injustice had regular grab tech where it was just like Street Fighter. You just have to press the button to grab tech. And it was still pretty effective for opening people up. And people were good at teching the grab too because it was so fast. And I think I also agree with flawless block reversals. I never had a problem with that. I just think like they should have altered it a bit. So like if I hit you with a down one, right, and it's on counter hit, you can still flawless block, but I think it should disable the reversal. But if I hit you on normal hit and you flawless block reversal, I think you should still be able to do it. I don't know if they're able to code that in, but that will add a little bit of depth to where you can't just like mash on flawless block reversal all the time. You got to make sure you didn't get counter hit so it doesn't get disabled. And also, yeah, with how the game is now and how important flawless block is to negate chip and everything else, I think if you're not going to have the flawless block reversal, at least make it to where, and also I think even without, if I flawless block the beginning of a string or a string at any point, it should cancel out the rest of the string. And it should decrease the frame hit stun or block stun, so then you can at least get like a punish on it. So then there's a reason flawless block, because there are some moves like the uppercut, for example. If you flawless block that, you get a combo punish. But like you flawless block a jab, you don't get shit. It might still be plus on block, which makes no sense. And cameos, this is what I originally thought the game was going to be, because at first, I ain't gonna lie, I was pissed when I saw the first MK1 trailer. I was like, man, I don't want this cameo shit. I don't want to play Marvel versus Mortal Kombat. And then I was thinking like, well, you know what? What if they have the cameos die? But the cameos don't die. They just freaking keep coming back. Matter of fact, they'll just tank damage and protect the point character from dying at times. I want the cameo to be able to die. Like imagine it, okay, Chameleon, right? She's an annoying ass cameo, but she has low HP, so they can't be as reckless calling her because she could literally die. Like they should have their own HP or something too. That's how I feel. I think with Mortal Kombat being Mortal Kombat, it would make sense for the characters to die. Like now, you got Jax who can literally grab a cameo and start beating their ass and shit. Like I hope they implement that.
Okay.
But yeah,
And
that's it for me.
Chris, is there anything that you would like to see from Khaos Reigns that hasn't been announced?
Yeah, they should do that. They need to appease the casuals more. I mean, yeah, they should put a hybrid mode in the game. They should put a mode in there where you can use all of those assets that are already in the game. I want to play as all those random Ashley mixed with Johnny Cage. Put
Like a
all of
World
those
War
characters,
Street Fighter.
put them in a separate mode. Put a separate mode where I can use the main character as a cameo assist, because when you play the story mode, they're already coded in. Reuse the assets in like meaningful ways to address some of the things that people commonly don't like, which is playing the competitive aspect of the game. They don't want to engage in the ranked experience, and even though cameos are one button, they still get in the way of a lot of players' experience. So find a way to do something with that. Do something with the hit stop on throws. So you know when you throw someone up in the air and they land, they just get back up straight away. They should really stay down there and allow me to walk all around them and set up my Oki and do whatever I like of a knockdown off a throw and hit stop in other places. And then the last thing, we know that we haven't got like a traditional counter hit system in the game, but there needs to be things in the game to highlight when the player who isn't as knowledgeable is going wrong. So when you hit someone with a counter hit, it should just produce like 10 times as much blood. Like blood should just fly everywhere. So those people who keep getting hit with down one over and 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 over again, blood will be everywhere, and eventually they might just decide to block for a change. And it's not something that impacts the game.
That'll never happen. Blocking, I mean.
In America.
They're not blocking over here, brother. They're not blocking
In America.
Yeah, they don't pay
blocking
money
here.
to block over here.
I'm trying to think of things that they can do that are kind of like relatively low effort, that someone who doesn't have as much knowledge or isn't really interested in getting that good can still enjoy it. Because that seems to be like when I'm on the internet and I'm reading about things, people are complaining about the same stuff. They're complaining about wokeness, DEI, gender swaps, how it used to be, masculinity, all of the same kind of tropey type of shit. So it's like, what can you give those people who don't actually care about frame data, don't care about optimization, don't care about a meta, don't care what's happening in the pro competition, don't care to compete? What can you give those people? I think something where you use the hybrid characters and they don't feel like they're attached to the ranked experience. Or when they go into casual, you know how it is on casual. You hit casual, and the person who just got off ranked went onto casual to try out something that they had just seen on YouTube, and then you're enduring that same kind of experience again. Try and find something that's like non-competitive and give those people. That would be my idea. Do something with those characters, those hybrid characters. Use them, utilize them in a way that kind of detracts away from the ranked experience, from the competitive experience. They should do that. And also inquire into a push block. Another common complaint is there's not enough defensive mechanics. If there's another defensive mechanic, it can cost 1 bar, it can cost 2. It might just do something to like quell some of those like complaints. Because you're really like, when you're making any product, right, you're trying to kind of aggregate all of the complaints that people have and address them one by one. And I think NRS do that, but the way they like deliver it isn't good. So they should try and work on things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, I appreciate all of your time. Last thing I'm going to say is that I know MK1 is kind of in a turbulent situation, but it's not all doom and gloom because Sparking Zero is almost here. I expect to see all of you on it.
There you go.
I expect to see all of you on it.
Yes.
On PS5.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been seeing trailers. I'm considering buying it. Like the convo you and me had and watching trailers, I'm more like towards 50-50 now. At first it was a flat out no.
Maybe.
I'm just saying there's no crossplay.
I might get it.
Yeah,
Dude, it's good. Like
it looks
the
really good.
mechanics and stuff. It's still Tenkaichi how it's been, but they added it's that like new counter that you can counter a counter or something. They go like this and they counter it like like just there's more to the combat system, but I want to see how far it's gonna go. I'm gonna be sweating on that shit every day.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll save that conversation for another day. But I appreciate all of you jumping on, and I'll chat to you all very soon.
For sure, bro.
Take care, guys.